You know, it's not every day you get to watch and maybe participate in the meltdown of $1 billion company, but here we are. Can you name a time in the last 15 years when a huge corporation mangled public relations more severely than Southwest Airlines following the Great Christmas Meltdown? And perhaps the most stunning aspect of the entire debacle is how easily avoidable all of it was. So today we've got some free PR advice for a company worth billions that has been acting like fourth graders playing airline under a blanket fort. So, Southwest, are you ready to listen? Hello friends, I'm Bill Hobson, and our company motto at Hobson Media is "We tell your story." Quite often, the telling of your story involves cleaning up a public relations mess. Sometimes our efforts even venture over into crisis management. So it's within that framework that I offer these questions to the leadership of Southwest Airlines. Ready? Number one, what on earth are you doing? Number two, do you actually write checks to a PR consultant? And number three, do you save your receipts? Because whoever has been advising the company since Christmas owes you a full refund. You know, the kind of refund you currently owe thousands upon thousands of passengers. You know, I think everybody who flies will agree that when a colossal winter storm hits and cripples every airline, it's one of those unfortunate weather moments that rises above systems and procedures and schedules, and we don't like it, but there's really not much anybody can do when the big one causes industry disruption. So, as long as no airlines were flying, Southwest passengers were no different from those other airline passengers. But when the competition after Christmas quickly returned to the air, the airline claiming love as its central operating mantra began demonstrating the hollowness of that mantra and put on full display its complete and total tone deafness to the real lives its incompetence was impacting. There were entire families left to sleep on airport floors and sit shoulder to shoulder with strangers for not just hours, but days, standing in farcical, never-ending rebooking lines and trying to contain their anger and sadness at not being able to spend Christmas with grandma or even just go back home. Gate agents and other Southwest team members were left to deal with an endless line of upset customers, and all of that happened shortly after the brilliant Southwest Brain Trust slapped their team with a memorandum mandating overtime, forbidding sick time, and threatening termination for those who don't comply. So, as you might have expected, hundreds of them walked out. They just plain quit. And those that remained working for Southwest have been put in an unwinnable situation, trying to remedy a mess they didn't make while being yelled at by customers who have a legitimate beef but nowhere to go. At the top of this spoiled food chain is Southwest soon-to-be former CEO Bob Jordan. Far too late, Mr. Jordan began popping up in apology messages that carried all of the warmth and sincerity of a hostage video. The things he said did not help. They provided zero solutions. They offered no immediate compensation other than, it's going to take a while to sort things out, but we'll make it right with you eventually. Mr. Jordan, my guess is that the Southwest Airlines PR team is being paid 7 figures a year to come up with things like heart logos and generic apology scripts. But if you don't mind a little free advice, actually, now that I think about it, you're welcome to send a check my way, because these ideas are better than the ones you've been getting. I do have some thoughts on how your company could have saved itself an incredible amount of grief and potential loss of billions. So here we go. Idea number one. Instead of having back-end infrastructure technology requiring thousands of staff members to try and call the same 800 number to learn of their schedule, maybe invest in a system developed more recently than what Mrs. Olson used to use to patch through calls in Walnut Grove. Idea number two, your employees deserved better than the do this or else memo that drove hundreds of them to quit. If you really want to use a heart and love as your company ethos, Maybe try demonstrating that concept in real life to the people who literally make the company work. Idea number 3. As soon as you knew thousands of passengers across the country were going to be stuck sleeping on airport floors for days, why not fly into action, no pun intended, and immediately begin handing out hotel vouchers, future flight vouchers, sending staff on a Costco run to purchase massive quantities of food and water, and doing everything for those passengers that you would do for your own kids if they were stuck at an airport with nowhere to go. Few airlines are more active on social media than Southwest. Throughout the crisis, you should have been constantly appearing and updating passengers with short video messages, apologizing, comforting, sharing news of what was coming in the hours ahead, and maybe even once in a while surprising them with some good news, like partnerships with area hotels were in place and they would not be forgotten. They would be taken care of. They wouldn't have to sleep on the airport floor again that night. Again, the kind of things you'd want your kids to hear if they were trapped. Yeah, some of these ideas that I'm sharing are costly and inconvenient and difficult to pull off in a time of crisis. That's why you don't wait until the entire system comes crashing down before you address the system's shortcomings. Friends, whether you're at Southwest or any other company or ministry or entity, hear me when I say this. A crisis reveals preparation. It is not the time to begin preparation. Clearly, Southwest had zero preparation in place for a system-wide crisis, and the fallout will, by comparison, make my suggestions look like a bargain. By the way, a quick note, an aside, if you will, to the airport management teams across the country. You do know you could pitch in and help a little bit, right? I mean, I know it's not your fault that Southwest crashed, but you've got hundreds of people sleeping on your ridiculous seating configurations with no food options outside of normal business hours and an emotional meltdown level of DEFCON 5. What's your emergency plan for moments like this? How about you spring into action and pitch in as well? Back to Mr. Jordan for just a moment. Sir, it's entirely possible that you are a wonderfully nice, thoughtful, and kind man. We've never met. I hope that's the case. But as I watched the horrendous apology videos, I thought to myself, this man is either horrible at his job, is being poorly served by his PR team, is in way over his head, or it's a combination of all of those things. This did not have to happen. And I hope other leaders of businesses, large and small, will take note of how not to handle a moment of crisis. Finally, whether you are a Southwest Airlines or a small family-run business, our team at Hobson Media would be happy to help you prepare ahead of a PR crisis. Our motto is, we help tell your story, and as you can see from the Southwest example, even the huge companies sometimes get it really, really wrong. Don't let that happen to you. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk soon. And happy flying.